Today we'll take the final code from phase 1 and add everything we coded now in phase 2 next to it. We'll strip the code from phase 1 of some unnecessary things and then make the car move in this new virtual world. Finally, we'll have the two code bases join forces. Get it? Because we integrate the no.
Gonna code, debug, and have fun. Coding with Radu. Coding with Radu. Gonna prototype and design. Coding with Radu. Coding with Radu. Let's code now.
I have now the project from phase 1 open here in Visual Studio Code, and this world is what we've been building during phase 2. Everything is now inside of this world directory. But this is the other code that did the self-driving part. And I'm going to teach you how to integrate it. And it looks like this. Probably you don't have a good brain for the cars in memory, so they won't do anything smart if you run the code. But it is what we get here. And now let's see how to integrate the world into it. We are going to start to remove some things we don't need in this simulation, keeps things simple, and then load the world into that. So let's go to main.js here. And the first thing we'll do is stretch this canvas where the car is so it covers more of the screen. We don't have this kind of vertical road anymore. So I'm going to go here at the top and say that this is going to be window inner width minus 330 pixels. This will cover that neural network on the right and the buttons in between. We're also not going to need the road object anymore. We can remove it from here, and actually we can remove the whole file from here and the reference from index.html. We are not going to use this anymore. The roads come from the new world we created. Now, back here, let's keep things simple, not have multiple cars, but just one, and control it with the keys. Instead of an AI car, let's just have keys here. In this way, you also remember what this code did, or learn what it does if it's the first time you see it. Now, here the road is used to put the cars in the center. We are not going to do that anymore. We just replace this with 100. So now the car is going to be at 100, 100 when it spawns, for now at least. And let's see where else is this road used. So this road borders, I'm just going to replace with road borders on a variable that we have to create. And it is called here just above the traffic. We remove this. And by the way, the traffic up here, I'm going to remove this one as well. Traffic is very difficult to implement in this situation because we would really need cars to know how to drive already for them to be part of the traffic. It's not as simple as them going forward like it was in phase 1. I'm going to leave it empty. And let's define here also empty road borders for now, just to get something to work and that we can test. Let's save and refresh. And now the car is there and you can control it with your keyboard. But it looks a little bit funny because the canvas is actually following the car, and without anything for reference, you can't tell that you're moving forward. So I'm going to remove this effect here. This translation, save translate from here, goes away, and restore, not needed. Save, refresh, and now we see the car actually at 100, 100, and we can control it with our arrow keys, like this. It's time to add the world into the mix. So we are going to go to the world folder, open this other index.html, and I'm going to copy all of the scripts from here into this other one at the top before we start to do everything else. Now let me indent these a little better, and all of them now have to load from world and then JS. So I'm going to multi-edit these to world / like this. Let's save and refresh. Sometimes when loading files like this, crazy things can happen, and we don't seem to have any errors, and everything still works. So that's good. And now let's load the world from local storage. We are going to do the same thing as in this world index.html. So here I'm just going to copy this into main somewhere at the top, maybe here. Align this better, and this let can be a const. We are not going to reassign the world here. And now let's get also the viewport, because I want to have control over what we see if the world is really large. So we take the viewport here below, and we need to call it on the proper canvas. So car canvas is the one on the left. And now we need to reset it and draw the world here in animate in this drawing section. I'm going to go here and copy that part. So I just copied this, but this part is not needed. Paste. Let's remove this. It was only for the editor to work, and here we're not editing anything. We just use the world. We don't even generate it. It just loads directly. And we draw the world on this car CTX. Very important. Now, these two lines of code I have added to make sure that the canvas stretches vertically, the full size of the screen, but also because it would reset the canvas on each frame, and that will mess up the viewport. So we're not going to have that functionality anymore. I just moved these at the top. So I didn't delete them. I moved them here to initialize the page with the full screen height there. And if we save and refresh, you're going to see some weird things happening here. This is much more emphasized now because, as I mentioned, this network canvas resetting itself would also clear this canvas. So now this is drawing again and again and again on top of itself. And we can fix this real quick here. Before asking the visualizer to draw the network, I'm just going to clear the network context entirely. Okay, let's save, refresh. And now this looks as before. And here, few weird things. The car is now next to this tree. The viewport does work. I can drag things around and zoom things around. This car looks bigger than before because we've used one with higher resolution in phase 1. And now that marking is using this one with a little bit higher resolution than the one that fits on the road. So it's okay. It doesn't matter because we're eventually gonna remove this one from here. We don't need to know where the car should start. We're gonna see the car there. So let's do that. Set this car to that start point. But let's also make everything green here. So I'm going to go in Style CSS, and this car canvas background color would probably be more proper, but this should work. And now everything is green. So let's move this car there. We're going to go to main.js, where we generate the cars here, and instead of this location, we are going to take the markings for the start. So I'm just going to call these start points, even though they have also the direction information there. And I'm going to look through all the markings and filter those with type of start. And then the start point that we are going to use is going to be the first one. But I'm going to check if it exists, just in case the world doesn't contain them. If it does, then the point at the center is going to be used. Otherwise, I'm going to have this 100, 100 there. I don't use 0, 0 because I want to see it a little bit. And now we can push the cars at this start point. Start point X and start point Y, like this. Save and refresh, and now the car is there. But it's not at an angle like what you see the marking showing there. So we can do that as well. But this car constructor doesn't have a way of passing the angle. So I'm going to have to go to car.js here, and after control type, I'm going to type angle, by default 0, and pass this angle here as well. So set it from the constructor. And then back in main.js, let's get the angle information from the direction vector. So code I'm going to write is going to be very similar to this, but we are going to take the direction vector from the start marking. Maybe start points is a little bad name, but it's okay. So here, if there are start markings, we get here the direction vector. Otherwise, let's just use here 0 and -1. This should be pointing up. Now the angle itself, we take the angle from this dir and let's pass it here like so. Save, refresh, and I have an error here, I think direction, save, refresh. And now it works. It's at an angle, but it's not at the correct angle that we expect. And that's because we used a different frame of reference in phase 1. I wanted everything to align so that 0 is the pointing upwards. And we have to fix that. When we calculate here the start angle, we fix it by adding minus in front and plus 90 degrees. Save and refresh. And now this is fine here. And driving the car flies over the houses. This is probably something you don't want, and you want the car to be over the road, but under the house. Well, not under the house, maybe it should collide with the house, but definitely in this case where it's next to the house there, the house should be drawn over it. So we need to pass these cars to the world and let the world draw them. We're going to do that in animate here after we have the cars and the best car information. I'm going to pass them world cars is cars, and the best car is the one that is emphasized when we do the simulations. So 2 things there. And we won't be drawing them anymore here. You see, they're drawn by using transparency for all of them when we have many cars in the simulation. And then the best car is drawn again once with maximum opacity, and also showing the sensors. The sensors are not shown for the other ones. Otherwise, it's too complicated. There's a lot of clutter like that. So now let's go to world here and give it attributes for these cars and the best car. This can be null. And now in the draw function, before doing the items, on top of everything else, I'm just going to do the same thing as before. So 0.2 alpha, draw all the cars without showing the sensor, and then set the alpha again to 100%. And if we do have a best car, draw it with the sensors. Save, refresh, and now it goes under the houses and under the trees, but still over the road and over the other markings. Let's remove this big marking here now that the car is at the correct location. So I'm just going to add to this draw in world a third parameter that says show start markings true by default. So our editor still shows them. But here, when going through the markings, if this is not a start marking, or if we want to show the start markings, then we wrap this like so. So if it is a start and we don't want to show it, then it's not going to show. We need to call now draw with false as the third parameter. So going back to main.js, here, false. And now it's gone. And driving now is difficult because we can't follow the car anymore. If we want to also see it up close like this. So we can easily make it follow. We just have to go to main before the viewport reset here and tell it that the offset should be the best car offset, but negative, like this. And now when driving here, the center is on the car. I'm getting some GTA 2 vibes. Okay, it's quite tough to drive in this setting, really. It's not going to be easy to get a neural network that does what we want it to do. Well, actually, you can just go through buildings at the moment and trees and everything. So let's add road borders or things that can damage the car. And let's start by adding the houses. So I show you how to do it, and then add the actual road borders so that the car doesn't get out of the road. You could make different scenarios where maybe the car wants to learn also what a road is, and then the road borders wouldn't damage it. They don't really damage it in real life unless there's some big ditch there or something. But yeah, let's make the buildings untouchable. So at the top of main.js here, where we have the road borders, we can get them from the world buildings. Let's map each building and get the segments of the base, so the poly segments. And now I really want to have an array with just segments, not an array of arrays of segments. So I'm going to flat this, and also the road borders in phase 1 implementation weren't a segment object. They were just arrays of points. So I'm going to convert this into an array with P1 and P2, like this. Save, refresh, and let's zoom in a little bit. And as we drive forward, you can see this sensor here is picking up the house. It's not yellow all the way, like that. And when we touch it, the car gets damaged and we can't do anything anymore. I'm sure you know what to do for the trees as well, but I really want to show you that we can get the world road borders. And these are segments already, so all we need is this, mapping them to this format that phase 1 understands. Save and refresh. And now you can see the road borders are the ones that are being recognized and that damage the car. So let's do a little bit of experimentation and try to get the cars to learn to drive in this new scenario. I won't insist on it. That's what phase 3 will be for. But I want to give you something. So let's go here and change the car to use its brain, not just display it there on the right. So AI. And to train, let's use 100 different cars. Now we save, refresh, and something is happening here. Now, this is the best fit car here, really, according to our fitness function from phase 1, which was the higher up it goes, the better. But now these are obviously better. Look at these other cars that are doing laps here, right? So we need a different fitness function. We do that here when we calculate the best car. Instead of using the Y value, we are going to use the fitness value. Fitness value. So here it finds the car with the minimum fitness. We want the maximum fitness now. And this fitness doesn't exist. So inside of car, I'm going to define it here as an attribute with 0. And as the car moves here, after it moves, I'm just going to update it with how much it moved. So the fitness is going to measure how much distance it travels, basically. Now, on each iteration, the car moves with the speed. So I'm just going to add here the speed like so. Let's save, refresh. And now you can see these cars that are actually doing something are the ones that are emphasized, not anymore the one that crashed here at the top. Okay, I think we found a winner. Let's save this car. Save here saves the brain of this car that is selected. And if we go back to main at the top, we can select one car again, save and refresh. And this is that one car that was emphasized before. So we have a car that can do some laps here. One more thing I want to remind you of is this mutation. So we do have this mutation amount here if we are going to add more cars again. Now, because we do have a brain in local storage, refreshing here is going to generate cars that are very similar to this one. So fewer cars get smashed here and more cars are going to follow in this way.